Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome along to today's webinar. We're looking at Sage 50 accounts. It's one of our webinars in the VAT Proficiency 2025 series. We're looking at part 2 of submitting the VAT return. So once you've calculated and you've reconciled, so following on from Matt's session yesterday where we looked at that, we're looking today at the steps on tab 3 of that, the webinar, the VAT return wizard. So 3 key tasks on there that we're going to be covering today. Now, just before we get stuck into the webinar, we're just going to quickly run you through the little bit of housekeeping just before we get started. So as usual, you don't need a microphone. If you've got one, if you've enabled it, it will be muted automatically. You can't unmute yourself. So any questions that you have for us today, you'll need to pop them into the chat panel, the questions panel. To access that, just click the little speech bubble icon. It'll expand the box. You'll get access to that little box in the bottom corner. And that's where you can submit any comments or questions that you might have. Joined today by Abby and Tina. They'll be on hand to answer those questions. So keep them busy, keep your comments and your questions coming. If you're not sure about something, pop it in there, click send. We'll try our best to pick them up. I'll probably join in with some of those as well, depending how many we get. If anyone wants a copy of today's slides, then they are available to download during the session today. So do take that opportunity. As usual, the webinar is being recorded. A link to the recording will be included on your follow-up email. So really good if you need a bit of a recap. And it'll also include links so you can register for our upcoming sessions. And also, if you've missed any sessions, or maybe you're looking at new areas of the software, you've got links to our recordings page as well. Loads of recordings available there for you. The VAT Proficiency badge series that we are running, though, consists of 7 different topics plus a quiz. So today it's session 3. So we are on the repeats at the moment. So we ran these started about 3 weeks ago where we ran them. We're on session 3 of the repeat series. If you attend any 5 of the 7 topics plus one of the quiz sessions, then you will qualify to earn that digital badge, and they should be sent, I think it's a week commencing the 14th, so a week after next. So we'll issue those badges if you have qualified, so watch out for that. So still plenty of opportunities to qualify for that badge. If you attended some sessions last time round and sometimes some in this series as well, they will be merged, so essentially topping up your attendance. Links, if you haven't already registered for them, again, that registration link will be included on your follow-up email. So again, watch out for that one. Right, this is what we're covering in this afternoon's session though. So we're going to start with a brief introduction, and then we're going to get stuck into the step 3 of the VAT return wizards, or what we term the complete your VAT return tab. So there's 3 tasks on there. There's the VAT transfer, the submission of your VAT return, and also either recording your payment or your receipt, depending if you can, or if you have a liability, or you can recover an amount. And then once we've gone through that, we'll just explain more about the additional support that is available, possibly point you in the right direction a little bit, and then we'll open up to questions if there's any outstanding. But do keep your questions coming. We'll try our best to answer those just as we go. I'm going to start with a quick poll though, just before we get stuck into the webinar itself. So I'm going to pop that on your screen. So nice simple question for you. Which return are you submitting, or which return do you submit? Do you do UK return only? Do you submit a return in Republic of Ireland only, or do you do both? So if you don't mind, choose an answer. Remember to submit that so it counts, and we'll just see what the vote, what we get with the results. I'll wait till a good percentage of you have voted for that one. We're just approaching getting on for nearly 100 attendees this afternoon, so this will give you a good idea of the split. So we normally we get about sort of 75–80% of you voting for that one, and then, as I say, I'll share the results with you just so you can see what that looks like. Right, that's great. Okay, so these are the results. So as you can see, 93% of you, so we had nearly everyone vote for it there. So 93% of you submit a UK return only. 6% of you will do a Republic of Ireland return, submit that. And we've got one of you on the session today that does a combination. Right, now we will, obviously in the live demos today, and the video demo I've got today as well, I will be covering a UK return just because of, as you can see, statistically we get many more customers attending from the UK than the Republic of Ireland. So we sort of concentrate on that one. Right, let me just hide that and we'll get started. Right, so if I can find the right slide, we'll get cracking. So just as a little bit of a recap as to what Matt covered in session 2, where we looked at calculating and reconciling the VAT return, so agreeing those figures. So we've got obviously we've got the screenshots of the software side by side. So on step 3, you can see other than the VAT return itself, the number of boxes and obviously the figures it would show, the options that you've got available are pretty similar. So it's these options down the right-hand side that we're going to follow today. So we're going to start with the VAT transfer in just a moment. Have a look at that one. We'll be looking at the submission process, so what's involved in that. A little bit different if you're in the UK to if you're based in Ireland. And then the recording of the payment or the receipt, depending on the liability that has been calculated. You've got the option to add attachments as well. We're not really covering that today. It's probably something that you would have done up front. So you would have done that normally as part of step 2 if you did need to attach any documents, but you do have the option to add them in there as well. From a reconciled return perspective as well, which these already are, when you get to step 3, you've already reconciled it, so that VAT return, it sits within the VAT ledger. So you'll always be able to go back into it. You'll have the option to reprint any reports, to view your verification results, to view maybe any manual adjustments you've put through as well, but also you've got the option to drill down on your figures as well. So it does mean if you have an inspection for VAT purposes that, you know, if you haven't got your reports printed, you can always get at them. You can go back into the print option, you can print that detailed report, etc. Right, so let's get stuck in. We're going to start with the VAT transfer option. So first of all, what does the VAT transfer option actually do? Obviously, we'll show you this in the demo in just a moment as well. But basically what it does, it posts some journals. So it'll post journals to essentially transfer the reconciled VAT that's just been included on the VAT return you've reconciled. It'll transfer that VAT out of the sales and out of your purchase tax control accounts across to your VAT liability. So it does that via simple journal. So we got an example of that journal that would be posted. Now you could do that manually, but obviously much easier just within the VAT return. It'll pick up the relevant figures, etc. It's got the relevant date on there. You just click a button and it does it for you. So it's removing the reconciled VAT out of the two control accounts. What you effectively should then be left with is the unreconciled VAT. So if you're on the standard VAT scheme, for instance, you'd be left with any VAT on invoices that you've dated beyond the end of the VAT quarter that you've reconciled, for instance. So I suppose it's a good way as well, just looking at those two nominal codes afterwards, give you an idea of what you haven't yet accounted for. By posting the journal as well, what it will do, you'll be left with a balance on the VAT liability account. And that should be equivalent to the amount that you owe, or that it is due back to you in the form of a refund. So what if you've never done this before? Well, what it would mean if you've never done it before is that your sales and purchase tax control accounts and your VAT liability would probably have accumulated large values. So when you look at the likes of your trial balance, for instance, the likes of your sales tax control account would have just continued sort of accumulating that VAT from any sales transactions. Similarly, your purchase tax control account would have just continued to accumulate the VAT from your purchase transactions, and your VAT liability just accumulating that value from any payments or receipts that you've posted. So posting the journal just keeps everything down to sort of a minimum, as it were. Right, quick question from Anna there, just to get that one out of the way. Anna, you were mentioning about F12. If you just go into our Help Centre page, Anna, just search for F12. Literally type that in the search box, do a search, it should find the article that you're after, so you can copy that code if you're struggling to copy that. Right, okay, so that's what it actually does. So in the UK, values that are going to be transferred, so out of the sales tax, it's going to be the value from box 1 from your VAT return. That's what's going to transfer out. Similarly, from the purchase tax, it'll use the box 4 amount, so the total VAT on purchases. In Ireland, there's a similar thing. So again, sales tax amount uses the box 1 value, and for the purchase tax amount, bit more, always seems a bit more complicated in Ireland. You've got a lot more tax codes in there as well. So sometimes there's a couple of different scenarios. Now, Samantha, you've just asked there, can you post the transaction at a later date? So yes, you can. You can always go back to post this if you've never done it before. Maybe the end of a VAT period is a good time to do that if you've never done it before. Your old VAT returns, I'll pick up on that one in just a moment. So if you've never done it before at all. So if you were doing it manually, this is the type of journal that you would post. Again, the idea of the VAT transfer option, it just tries to keep away of you from having to do debits and credits and popping in the values. It'll do it while you're in the VAT return. So it's a nice, easy task just to complete once you have reconciled your VAT return. Once you've agreed your figures, you're literally just clicking a button. So we'll have a quick look at that now. It's the top option on step 3 of the VAT return wizard. So it'll automatically use the correct date, use the correct values. It's that single click, so you're going to click on Post Journal, and it'll also flag the VAT return as well to say, right, actually you've done that VAT transfer option. So nice and easy. Right, let me share my screen and quickly show you what that looks like. So we got this VAT return. This will be the equivalent of one that Matt showed you yesterday. This one's for 2024. It covers the 3-month period. At the moment, you can see in the VAT ledger, status says pending, meaning that essentially we've reconciled it because it's on the list. So it's pending, hasn't been submitted yet. Paid, it says N, so we haven't recorded a payment or receipt yet against it from the VAT return. And VAT transfer, it's currently got an N there, indicating that we haven't gone into the VAT return, we haven't clicked that button just yet. So we go into the VAT return, I'll just double click it, it brings it back up. We're on step 3 at the top, as you can see, step 3, complete the VAT return. This is the option in question. Now, it will let me change the date if I needed to. However, the date that it will pick up is the date that the VAT return was run up to, so the last day of that VAT quarter. So you can see in this example, it's picking up 31st of the 3rd, 2024. Now I am doing it for an old period. It's just some dummy data. Obviously for yours, before anyone starts asking about, well, what about a previous financial year and things like that? you'll have probably run a VAT return in your new financial year and completed these processes before you go back to actually run your VAT return. So we got the date in there, it's picked up automatically. You can see with it being a UK return as well, the figure in sales tax amount. Now, I could click in that box, it would let me change it, but it's picking up the right value. It's picking up that figure from box 1. The purchase tax amount, it is picking it up from box 4. Now, technically, it is box 4 minus box 2. But obviously, UK these days, you wouldn't declare anything in box 2. Not normally. But all we need to do is click Post Journal. So we give it a click, grays out, and it ticks the box. So it is literally that simple. I don't need to go into nominal codes. I don't need to bring up the journal entry screen. I don't need to start keying in debits and credits and choosing the relevant nominal codes. Literally, when you're on step 3, you're clicking that button. It couldn't be easier. Now, if I just close out of that for a moment, you'll see that in the VAT transferred column, we've got a Y there, indicating that I've now completed that. So I've gone into a VAT return. So you'll see these other ones have an N. Again, these are older periods. You might have loads of them, but it might be a case of you've just done it manually, or maybe you haven't done it at all. I'll come on to that one in just a moment. But in this case, when I click that button, transfer the VAT, obviously it does the journal for me, updates this VAT transferred column from an N to a Y, indicating that's done. We have a look at the transactions that have been posted there. Obviously, they're just on the end of my audit trail there. So we got the journals, we got the JD against my sales tax control account to essentially pull out that reconciled VAT. You've got another journal to the VAT liability, so it makes it nice and easy. It does the journal between the sales tax control account, the VAT liability, the purchase tax control account, and the VAT liability, rather than summarize the VAT liability posting as one line. So it makes it a little bit easier to read. Quick question there from Deborah. Deborah, you're just asking there, is it okay to change the date to the 1st of the following month? If you want to do that, yes, you can. Obviously, it'll adjust the 3 nominal code balances. So it'll adjust your sales tax control balance, your purchase tax control balance, and your VAT liability balance as at the relevant date that you use. Excuse me. So anyway, nice easy one, that one. So let's pick up on some of the common questions. So nice and easy, it's one click, but what are the common questions that we get? What if I've never done this before? Well, if your VAT returns are there and you've never done it before, you can still go back and post that, but bear in mind, it's going to post journals, it's going to post them with that specific date. So I suppose along the lines of what Deborah was asking there, you could even bring those journals into your current financial year if you wanted to. So you could use, say, the last day of your previous quarter, for instance, or even just the date, maybe the start of your current financial year. If you need some advice on that, though, do get in touch with our support team. Second question there, how do I know if I've done this manually or automatically? Well, if you've done it automatically, actually, I'll pop back to my screen. So we'll go into the VAT. So if you have done it automatically, you'll have a Y against the relevant VAT return. If you've done it manually, then it will always be an N against the relevant VAT return. That's not a problem. All the Y is doing is it's indicating that you have done it automatically. If you've done it manually, absolutely fine, not a problem. Just ignore the fact. Some people get really hung up on the fact that it doesn't say a Y. It makes no difference to that VAT return whatsoever on that list. It's just almost just there as a reminder, an N indicating you haven't done it automatically from within the VAT return itself. The third question, I'll just read that one out as I've gone back to this, gone back to the main screen there. The options available on my old returns, should I just go in and click it? Well, it depends if you've done it manually. So this VAT return here, for instance, this one at the top, it's got an N. I can double click it. Should I click it? Should I not? Have you done it manually? I suppose the only way you're going to know that is by looking at the transactions that are being posted against your either your control accounts or your VAT liability. Have you posted those? And what if it is in a previous financial year? Well, again, picking up on sort of, I suppose, Deborah's point there, if you've generated things like year-end reports, even month-end reports, and you've submitted those and you don't want those balances to change, then yes, you could potentially date those journals in the current period. So a quick question from Samantha there. If you've taken over from someone that's left, how do you check if it's been done manually? So you're going to need to look at the relevant control accounts. So pop into the likes of your nominal codes, find the relevant control accounts. So find your sales tax control account. So there's mine. Probably the easiest thing to do is actually look at the VAT liability account. It's going to have a lot less postings than the sales and purchase tax. So if I have a look at that one, have a look at the activity, it'll show you what's being posted to this account. So have you got postings that say VAT liability? That's the automatic description. It might be if they've been done manually, well, might have some other description in there. But can you see them? Have you got postings that relate to a specific VAT period? But that's the way you're going to check. Right, okay, so that's the VAT transfer. Next, we're going to go on to the second task on the tab 3 of the VAT return wizard, and it's VAT submission. Now, VAT submission, it does differ between the UK and Ireland. So we're going to cover UK first, as far as the demo is concerned. So in the UK, making tax digital, we've had that for quite some time now. And as part of that, you must submit your VAT return online via your software. You can no longer log on to the government gateway and type in your figures and submit it manually. So it needs to be done online. Now, by default, there is an option within company preferences, so settings, company preferences, and the VAT tab, called Enable Making Tax Digital for VAT Submissions. And all that would do is when you come to make your submission via your software, it would essentially launch the online submissions module, and it would guide you through that process of submitting that for you. The big thing to check within there is that your VAT registration number is entered. It'll pull that through as you make the submission. You'll see that in the demo in just a moment. So I'll just quickly show you that setting first of all, just so you can check. But if you're already submitting online, you will have this already ticked. But it might be that just for those that are about to become VAT registered or have become VAT registered and are about to make their first submission. So all you would need to do is go to settings, company preferences. Let's give it a moment to come up with my password. There we go. And then on the VAT tab, your tabs may look a little bit different. You may have some but not others compared to mine. Just depends on your options and your level of the software that you have. But it's this option here, Enable Making Tax Digital for VAT Submissions. That should be ticked if you're UK based, and just need to click OK at that point. Right, what I'm going to do then, I'm going to show you what the submission process looks like. So when I'm in a VAT return, let's just bring that one back up. We're on step 3. It's this option here. So this is where it differs. We're going to start with obviously UK. So we'll submit to HMRC. So all we'll do is we'll click submit online. And that's what we're going to see in this little video that I'm going to share with you now. So I'll set that going. I'll come back to you live in just a couple of minutes. In this demonstration, we're going to show you the steps to submit your VAT return online. We join the demonstration where we're on step 3 of the VAT return, so it's already been reconciled, and we're ready to submit it online. So on the right hand side, we click Submit Online. The online submission wizard appears, and you click Next. Ensure that the correct company name and VAT registration number appears, and then click Next. An authority page appears, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you can then click Continue. You're then prompted to sign in with your Government Gateway user ID and password. Once entered, click Sign In. You then click Grant Authority. You'll then be prompted to choose your period, and it should default to the correct one. Just make sure this is correct, and then select the checkbox to say that you agree to the following HMRC declaration, and then click Submit to HMRC. Once completed, a congratulations message appears, indicating you successfully submitted your VAT return to HMRC. You click Close. You then return to the VAT return, and as you can see, the VAT return is now flagged as being submitted. Okay, I'm back live with you at that point. Quick question during that one from Nick is, I can't see questions by others. Sometimes you won't. It depends on how the answers are submitted. So you might see some questions, some answers, but you won't see all of them. Some of them will be not necessarily relating to what we're presenting today, or maybe it's a bit more specific to them, or may contain personal data as well sometimes. So you'll only see answers that when we publish those answers, we think, right, actually, this would be beneficial to everyone to see this. But you'll not see the full chart. When you've seen that, when we've had that in the past and everyone's seen all those questions and answers, the feedback we get is there's too much going on. It's too busy, the screen. I can't keep up with what's happening. We get loads of questions on these sessions. So we are choosy as to what we share with everyone. Deborah, you mentioned there is the same process for group submissions. Now, I've included a link on that one. The process is a little bit different when you do a group submission. There's a separate module that you would need to essentially download, install, and use to make that group submission. But you will generate your VAT return to the same point. So let's say you've got 2 companies in the group, you've got them as separate companies. You would generate the 2 VAT returns, so one in each company, and then you would switch to what we term the MTD submissions module, so the module that enables you to group VAT returns together. When you launch that, it'll guide you through that process of saying, right, I want to pull that VAT return and that VAT return from those 2 companies. It'll merge the figures, and then the submission at that point is pretty much the same. It'll just be from a merge. So you will almost do that outside of Sage 50 in what we term the MTD submissions module. So if you've downloaded the handout, Deborah, get to that slide, click on the link there, and it'll guide you through. If you need that module, it'll guide you through downloading, installing it, and give you a bit of information on how to use that as well. But it's really straightforward. Now for Ireland, it's a little bit different. So you don't have that direct submission from your software. Instead, you need to submit your VAT return manually. So when you reconcile your VAT return and you come to step 3 in the option to submit, you will basically choose the open folder option, and you'll actually need to locate an XML file which is created in that VAT returns folder, which is essentially within your company data. And using that file, that can be uploaded to the Revenue online service. So a bit more of a manual task. You don't have that direct link to upload to the revenue. And all you would do is once you've done that, you would, in your VAT return, you tick the box to say, right, I've actually submitted that one. Now you'll still have that little tick box if you're in the UK as well. If I just go back to my screen for a moment. So even on a UK return, you've still got this little option here, mark as submitted. Now the reason for that being there is one, if you're on a group, if you do a group submission, or if you've got a historic VAT return. So you might have VAT returns go back years, where maybe at the time prior to MTD, you could submit manually. So basically all you would do is you would come in and you say, rather than clicking submit online, you would just tick the box to say, right, I've done that manually. And if you do submit online or you do tick the box to mark as submitted, what you'll see is the status on the VAT return list. It will say submitted. Prior to that, it's going to say pending. So if you've got loads of old VAT returns, again, people get hung up on this, similar to the VAT transfer, wanting it to say a Y, not an N, where they've done it manually. So if you are getting hung up on that, you can just go into those old VAT returns, tick that little box, and it will say submitted. But again, it will make no difference at that point. Right, so that's submitting. I think people get very worried about the online submission process, but it's very straightforward. Now, the final task on step 3 of the VAT return wizard is posting the bank payment or the receipt. So if you've got a liability or maybe in a position where you can recover an amount, you'll have that third option. And the idea of this, again, it just makes it really simple to record that in your software. So this represents the payment or the refund to HMRC or the revenue. So rather than you get that far in the VAT return, close out of the VAT return and just go into the bank accounts window and choose bank payment or bank receipt, this is essentially filling most of the information in for you within the VAT return wizard. Obviously, by doing this, obviously it helps to ensure your accounts is accurate, particularly your bank balance. And if your accounts are accurate and you're right up to date with your sort of your VAT liability or your receipts and you've been doing the journals, then once you've completed this, you'd expect that payment or receipt to zero down the VAT liability account balance. So you do the journals, it establishes a liability against that nominal code. And then let's say you make a payment, you would post it to that nominal code using the payment option within the VAT return wizard. And that should essentially be the equivalent of what the liability is. So essentially they should cancel each other out. Now you do have options of posting it automatically or manually. I would always recommend do it automatically. It's quicker. The only thing you really need to enter is the date that you make the payment on. Now, assuming some of you will be paying by direct debit. Now, when you make your submission, you'll normally be informed of when that will be collected. So you can, if you want, when you go to click the payment option or the receipt option, you can change that date. You can override it. It will ask you to key that in. Also, because it's going to be classed as a non-vatable transaction, the payment or the receipt, so generally it will be T9, you can always amend it afterwards if necessary. So, you know, if you put something through on the, say the 14th and your money's collected on the 20th, if you want to, you can go and edit that transaction and amend the date. But generally for your management reports wise, as long as it falls into the correct month, then you probably find you're all right. Now, if you were doing it manually, again, it's just bank accounts, bank payment or bank receipts, depending on the liability. Could do a journal, again, not recommended either, but you can do that if you prefer that method. Details you'd need to enter, obviously the bank account the payment's being made out of, the date, the nominal, you'll generally be posting that to your VAT liability nominal code. By default, that's 2202. In the net, you will enter the full value of that payment or refund, and you would use T9. So T9 being your non-VATable tax code. You don't want this payment or receipt to be picked up on your next VAT return. And then if you are doing it manually, again, you would just open up your VAT return, and there's that little tick box just to say, right, I want to mark that as paid, just so that you don't then double enter that transaction, as it were. Oh, I've just gone past the slide there. So automatic wise, again, it's simple, this option. You can check the details. It'll fill a lot of those details in for you. You can amend them if required. So it's going to ask you for things like your bank account. So which account are you paying the money out of, or if it is direct debit, which of your bank accounts in Sage is that being collected from? The date is blank, so you're going to need to pop that in there. The reference, it'll pull through your VAT number or your VAT registration number by default. Details will be VAT payment by default, and the amount, again, that will be pulled through essentially from your VAT liability. And all you're going to do is you're going to click Post Bank Payment. That's it. So let's have a quick look at that in the software, just so you can see what that looks like. Again, the idea is it's a really simple task. So we'll open up the VAT return. We've completed the excuse me. We've completed the VAT transfer. You saw the submission, and we've just got this final sort of option to complete. Obviously, because I've got a liability, so in my case, it's the figure in box 5. It's pulled that through into the amount box. So you'll notice on here, it doesn't ask me for things like which nominal code are you wanting to pay that against, which tax code do you want to use. It's pulling those through, it knows those. So it'll pull your VAT liability through from your list of control accounts. It knows your non-VATable tax code from your company preferences area that we looked at a few moments ago. So we just need to make sure we've got the right bank selected. Date, obviously it'll default to today's date if you click on the calendar, but you can choose whatever date you want to pop in there. I'll just accept today's date. Reference, I've got all the 9s for my dummy set of data, but it will be your VAT registration number that gets pulled through. VAT details, VAT payment, that's the default. You can click in and change that if you want to. Makes no difference if you change that, it's just a text field. Just if you need to change it so you can recognize it, make it a bit more meaningful to you, you can do that. And then the amount's already there. And all I need to do, so all I've really done here is I've checked the value, checked the boxes, entered the date, and I just click Post Bank Payment. Now I get a message just because it's an older set of data I'm using for this demo, but I'm assuming you probably won't, unless you've gone beyond the end of that financial year. But other than that, that's it now done. I've got a tick. It's flagged as paid. The options are now grayed out, so I can't do it again. If I close, go into transactions, you should see the very last transaction, this one here, the bank payment, 1200. It's paid against the VAT liability nominal code, and it's got the relevant details in there. So if I have entered that, maybe I've put the wrong date in, or maybe I wasn't quite sure of when my direct debit will be taken at the time. If I want to change that, I can simply highlight the transaction, click edit, and I would be able to change that date if required. Save the changes, job done. Okay, so let's quickly pop back to the slides just for a moment. So just want to quickly pick up on those questions at the bottom there. So what if I haven't done this? Again, it's a case of, well, have you done it manually in the past? Have you just gone into bank accounts and, you know, you've, excuse me, have you gone into bank accounts? So these days, if you're using bank feeds and it downloads and it automatically posts that transaction, if that's the case, just be a case of going into the VAT return, and just ticking the box, mark as paid. But how do you know? Well, it'd just be a case of, again, probably checking the likes of your, if I share the right screen. If we go into the likes of nominal codes, find the VAT liability account. So I'll just scroll down. There it is there. Check the activity. What you should find is that you've got those, either a bank payment or bank receipt. Might be the odd occasion where if you are really accounting biased, you might have done it as a journal, but you probably find BP or BR, depending on, again, that liability. So that's how you can check, have they been done in the past or not? Other question, what if I've duplicated it? Well, again, by coming into here, you'd see that duplicate transaction. So you'd have two similar transactions for the same value. Again, if needed, just normal sort of corrections, you'd be able to highlight transaction. You've got the delete option or the edit options at the top there. So you can make those changes if required. Right, so just about on time today as well. So I'll go back to the slides. If you've got any final questions for us today, I can see you've kept Abby and Tina really busy over the last 40 minutes or so. Keep the questions still coming. We will hang around for a few more minutes afterwards if there's anything outstanding, but I think we're just about on top of them as it stands. If anyone wants a copy of today's handout, then do take that opportunity to download them while you're on the session today. They're not available afterwards. So just click it and it should allow you to open that. Sometimes it'll open in either ask it to download it, other times it'll just open it in a new tab in your web browser, and just from that web browser you'll be able to download it then and save a copy. Right, Help Center wise, remember there's loads of information to do with VAT. So showing you the demonstration today, but if you want those detailed sort of step-by-step guides, you need advice on specific VAT schemes, tax codes, or anything else that we cover in the webinars, do check out our Help Center. Just open your browser, head along to sage.co.uk/help, choose Sage 50 accounts, and then when you get to the page that's on the screenshot, there is a section there, manage your VAT. It'll then ask you for your region, so are you UK or are you based in the Republic of Ireland, and it'll give you access to the relevant support information from that point. Right, now that does bring us to the end of the webinar. Again, any questions, let us know. But just leaves me to thank you for coming along. Hope you have enjoyed it. So that's session 3 of our VAT Proficiency 2025 webinar series. Hopefully you've signed up for the others as well. Remember, you will need to attend 5 of the 7 plus one of the quiz sessions to achieve that badge, and that should be issued, I think, week commencing I think it's the 14th. So a week after next, those badges should start to be issued. Now, if you can take a minute to complete the survey, that should pop up as you leave. That would be really great. We love reading those comments just to see if we hit the mark or not. Some of you will have done this many times before, probably. Some of you will be first, but hopefully you're feeling a lot more confident. For those that have done it before, I'm hoping maybe you just received that sort of little bit of reassurance by attending today that your understanding is correct. Some of you may have picked up a few tips along the way, just clarified your understanding, but as I say, I'm hoping you're feeling a little bit more confident than you were at the start of the session. So if you can, take that minute to complete the survey. Your follow-up email containing a link to today's recording. It'll contain links so you can register for our upcoming webinars, and also so you can watch recordings. That'll be with you in round about an hour's time. Quick question from Karina. How would you correct a duplication? Depends what the duplication is. So if I just go back to my screen for a moment, we will be covering, I think the VAT corrections we're covering next week. It'll either be Matt or myself, probably myself next week, I think that one. So if there is a duplication, so let's just say we did have 2 bank payments for this VAT liability payment, and we had them both listed, chances are they're going to be side by side as well. So if it was a duplication and thought, well, I need to get rid of that one, we can just highlight it, click delete, just confirm we want to get rid of it, and that's it. It's gone. It's no longer affecting our accounts at that point. Now, if you do delete that, which I've just done, what it won't do is it won't feed back to the VAT return that that transaction was posted from. So if I go into it, this one is still grayed out because it has processed that transaction. It's not linked at that point. So when you've clicked the post the bank payment, everything will grey out here. That's it done. It enters the bank payment into your accounts for you. It does not feed that back. Quick question from Lynn as well on your VAT screen showing N for the paid status. So this column here. So you can see I've got an older one there, Lynn. If I've paid that manually, if I've already entered that transaction, so yes, you're quite right. I can just go in, I can say, well, actually I've paid that one already, just to avoid anyone coming in and accidentally clicking the button. So just close out, it'll change it to a Y. If you do that accidentally and you think, well, I've ticked that and actually it's the wrong one, I shouldn't have ticked that one. I can always come in, take the tick out, and then that will become active again. But all you should need to do, if the old ones, just tick that, click close, that's it done. You get the paid column updated to a Y. Right, we'll end the webinar just at that point. Once again, many thanks for coming along. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you're feeling a bit more confident. Do complete that survey, that should pop up as you leave. Greatly appreciate it. Any thoughts, ideas you want to share with us, topics you'd like to see covered going forward, maybe ideas for additional badging series of webinars you'd like to see covered, let us know. Right, so we'll end the webinar. Many thanks for coming along. Hopefully we'll see you on some other webinars very soon. Many thanks.